even if you're the last woman on earth. I will never marry you.
Even if you're the last woman on earth, Junho said, I will never marry you. Last night he was crying on her lap. Adaeze had found him outside their hotel room at midnight, sitting on the floor of the corridor in his suit trousers and an open shirt, a glass of champagne going warm in his hand, and he had looked up at her and said, I can't believe tomorrow is real. I can't believe you said yes to me. She had pulled him up off the floor and he had held her face in both hands in the dim hotel corridor and said her name the way he had learned to say it, all 4 syllables, the way it was supposed to sound, and she had thought, this is the man I am going to grow old with. That was 14 hours ago. Now he was standing at the altar of Sacred Heart Cathedral talking to the priest, not to her, to the priest, and 300 people were watching, and his mother in the front pew had a small cold smile on her face, the smile of a woman watching something she arranged come together on schedule. Adaeze was still holding the bouquet. She set it down on the altar step, carefully, like it was still worth something. Then she turned to the priest. Get out of my way. He stepped aside. She walked down the center aisle with her train dragging behind her and 300 people watching and not one of them saying a word, and she did not look back at Junho, who was still standing at the altar with his hands at his sides, and she did not look at his mother, whose smile had not moved. Her sister Chinwe caught up with her at the door. Ada, car now, back exit. Mama is still. Tell her back exit. Tell her bring nothing, we move. She hit the door with both palms and the cold Itiwan air hit her face and she breathed it in and she thought, okay, now we find out what actually happened. Behind the 7-Eleven smelled like fryer oil and old rain. Adaeze was already out of the dress by the time her mother arrived. Chinwe had the travel bag. 3 minutes, jeans, black t-shirt, her mother's indigo wrapper around her shoulders because it was the first thing her hands found. Park family, she said while she pulled her hair back. Whose money is in the reception venue? Her mother looked at her. Theirs, her mother said. Good, tell Daddy to send every receipt to their lawyer tonight, everyone. Flowers, catering, the hanbok deposit, the priest's fee. We don't have to. Tonight, Mama. Her mother took out her phone. Chinwe was watching her the way you watch someone who has just stopped bleeding and you are not sure whether that is good or bad. Adaeze pulled the wrapper tight and got into the car and looked at her own reflection in the dark window. He rehearsed it, both languages. He stood at that altar and he rehearsed it. Phone buzzed, unknown number. Okonkwo, I need to speak to you tonight. It cannot wait. The bench by the river behind your hotel. 11 p.m. Yunwu, she stared at it. Asterisk, how do you know what hotel? Known where you were since Tuesday. So has someone else. That's why I'm texting. She looked out the window at the Han River sliding past below the bridge. Orange light striped the surface. Cold and slow and completely indifferent, she typed. 11:01 I leave. Then she put the phone in her pocket and said nothing to her mother or her sister. That was the first decision. The bench was empty at 10:58. She had her thumb on Chinwe's contact, 3 seconds from pressing it when a man stepped out from under the far streetlight, grey hoodie, faded jeans, unshaven jaw, moving like someone who had not slept since Tuesday. He stopped 6 feet away and bowed, the small careful nod of a man who needed her to know he was not a threat before she decided to run. Talk fast, she said. He didn't leave you because he stopped loving you. Don't care why, he's being blackmailed. She stopped. By who? Mother. River moved behind him. Somewhere across the water a siren started and faded. Your visa documents, he said. Your sponsor company, she owns 41% of it. She told him Friday morning if you get married today she pulls your sponsorship and has you deported. Then she goes further, your family in Enugu, your father's bakery. You said someone else has known where I am since Tuesday. He went very still. Who? He reached into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out his phone. A photograph on the screen, a man at a bus terminal, nobody she knew, thick neck, dark jacket, watching a departures board like he was not watching a departures board. His name is Cha, he works out of Incheon. She hired him 4 days ago. He paused. The job is you. Everything went quiet, not the quiet of an empty street. The quiet of a thing just understood. You have a plan, she said, or you wouldn't be standing here. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his other pocket, held it out, a name in Hangul, a number, a single line in English. Tell him you are the woman from Itiwan. He will know who you are. She did not take it yet. Who are you? I was Junho's roommate in Boston. He stopped. Something moved across his face that he did not fully control. There was a woman before you, same family. Same situation. I thought she was dead. I've spent 11 years thinking she was dead. Siren across the water was long gone. Is she? I don't know yet. She took the paper. I want the photograph on your phone. He turned the screen toward her. She photographed it with her own phone. He watched her do it and did not move. Go home, she said. Don't contact Junho tonight. She turned and walked back toward the hotel lights. Behind her she heard him exhale long and slow, like a man putting down something he had been carrying since Boston hotel bathroom. 11:47 p.m., the paper open in one hand, phone in the other. She dialed before she had fully decided to dial, which she recognized as a thing she did when she had already decided and was only waiting for her hands to confirm it. 2 rings, a man answered and said nothing. Just opened the line and waited, and the silence was trained. "My name is Adaeze Okonkwo," she said. "I am the woman from Itaewon." A pause, long enough that she heard him breathe, then in English with no accent at all. "I have been waiting for this call for 3 days. Her eyes went to the mirror above the sink. Her makeup was still perfect, she had not cried once. "Where do we meet?" she said. "Bukchon, a tea house called Sumundawan, 9 a.m. tomorrow." "Right. Ms. Okonkwo. Not go back to your apartment. Do not contact Junho. Stay in your hotel tonight. A beat. After we meet, things will be different." "How? In your favor. For the first time since you arrived in this country." The line clicked off. She sat with the dead phone in her hand and thought about the man in the grey hoodie saying, "I thought she was dead." Thought about Junho's mother and her small cold smile. Thought about a man named Char at a bus terminal watching a departures board like he was not watching it. She opened her texts. Typed to her father in Enugu, "Don't open any official letters until you hear from me. Don't sign anything. I love you." Sent at 11:52 p.m. without explanation. Second decision. She turned off the bathroom light and went to bed and did not sleep. Sumundawan was the kind of place you walked past 3 times before you found it. A wooden door set into a hanok wall, no English signage, a small white lantern burning above the lintel. Adaeze stood across the alley in her grey wool sweater and dark jeans and black wool coat and natural hair in a low knot and no jewellery, and she counted to 10 in 3 languages before she crossed. The woman in the pale grey hanbok bowed and led her down a corridor without asking her name. The back room was warm. Low table, paper screens, a single ink painting on the wall, a bent pine on a cliff tilted but holding. A man was already seated, early 60s. Lean. Silver threaded through black hair brushed back from a sharp jaw, a charcoal suit that did not crease the way regular suits creased. No tie. He stood when she entered and bowed deeper than courtesy required, and she understood immediately this was not politeness. It was a position being taken. She sat across from him. The hostess poured pale green tea into 2 celadon cups and disappeared without a sound. "Much did he tell you?" the man said. "Enough to be here at 9 a.m. He nodded once. "Or visa sponsorship. As of 7 this morning it has been transferred out of the company your sponsor firm reported to. The transfer is legal, notarized and signed. The woman who was using it to control you no longer has access to it." Adaeze looked at him. "You did that before we met." "Because I wanted you to walk in here free, not negotiating for your own safety. Free." She picked up the celadon cup, drank, set it down. "Who is the woman who died?" she said. "Before me." Something shifted in his face, not much, a degree. Her name was Lin. She was Vietnamese, 24 years old, engaged to the older Park son, not Junho, the one before him. The mother did not approve. There was a car accident on the Yangpyeong Expressway. He paused. "I was the one she hired to arrange it. Tea was bitter and good." "You didn't do it," Adaeze said. "No." "Where is she?" "Da Nang. She runs a restaurant. She has 2 children. She does not know I am the reason she is alive." Adaeze set the cup down. "The man from the bench last night. He loved her. He thinks she's dead. Did until last night when I told him otherwise." He turned his cup a quarter turn on the table. "I needed him clear when he spoke to you. He had been carrying 11 years of grief. I gave him back the woman so he could give you the truth without his hands shaking. You used his grief. I ended it. Those are different things." She looked at him for a long time. "Show me the envelope," she said. He reached into the inside pocket of his suit and set a thin cream envelope on the table between them. He did not push it toward her. She opened it herself, 3 things inside. A new alien registration card under the transferred sponsorship, a black credit card with no name embossed, and a photograph, glossy, recent, of Junho on a bench with hydrangeas behind him, talking to a Korean woman in an expensive camel coat. Adaeze looked at the photograph. "Who is she?" "Name is Han Yujin. She is an attorney. She has been engaged to Junho for 2 months. 2 months. He had proposed to her 3 months ago, Jeju Island, a ring made by a jeweler in Sinchon. He had cried on the beach. He agreed to it," she said. "He agreed. The blackmail is real. The blackmail is real. But it was not why he left you at the altar. It was the story he told himself about why he was leaving. There is a difference." She slid the photograph back into the envelope. She slid the envelope into the inside pocket of her own coat. He watched her do it. "Ms. Okonkwo, how many men does she have on me now?" A pause. That I know of, Cha, whose job I have already cancelled through the channel she used to hire him, and a second man she retained last night when she suspected interference. He is not through my channel. I have a name. I will have the man by tomorrow afternoon. Moved fast. Always moves fast when she feels the ground shift. He looked at her steadily. There were 2 men outside this tea house this morning when you arrived. They are gone now, but you should know they were there. She had not seen them. She did not say that. I am going to the hospital, she said. The man from the bench, she had him hit by a car last night. Man across the table went very still. He is alive, she said. I got a message this morning. Broken leg, broken ribs, concussion. He is alive. She stood. I want to see him today. With one of yours, that can be arranged. Tonight I want to meet again, not tomorrow, tonight. He stood when she stood, the deep bow again. At the door she stopped without turning around. You said you offered this to me as a man who needed something to spend his money on that he would not be ashamed of at 4 a.m. That was not the whole answer. Silence. No, he said. It was not. Me the rest tonight. She walked out into the alley and the cold air came at her face and her phone buzzed in her coat pocket and she pulled it out and looked at the screen. Junho. A new number, a burner. Of course, Ada, please, I can explain everything. Please just let me. She blocked the number without breaking stride. Third decision. She kept walking. She found him on the 8th floor with his leg in a sling and one eye swollen shut and stitches running from his eyebrow into his hairline. And when he saw her in the doorway he tried to sit up and she said don't, and he sank back into the pillow. The driver waited in the corridor. She closed the door. You knew about the other woman, she said, before last night. He looked at the ceiling. Yes. How long? I found out 4 days ago. The same day his mother showed him your file. He shifted against the pillow and the shift cost him something, a quick tightening around his mouth he did not let become a sound. I went to Junho. I told him I knew. I told him he had to tell you himself or I would. He told me he was going to handle it. He told me to give him until the wedding morning. You gave him until the wedding morning. I trusted him. I have been trusting him since Boston and every time I do it costs somebody. Phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, a number she did not recognize, not a burner format, a clean Seoul landline. She let it ring. Woman, she said. Lin, his face changed. 11 years of held grief moving across it at once like weather. He told you. Last night, before someone ran you down. She watched him. Did you know she was alive? Told me last night. 2 hours after I left you at the river. He called me and I was walking home and the car. He stopped. Breathed. I didn't see it coming. I heard it. Phone buzzed again. Same landline number she picked up this time. MS Okonkwo, the older man's voice calm as the tea house. Don't react to what I'm about to say. She looked at the wall above the hospital bed. All right. The second man, the one from Busan, he is in the hospital. Everything in her went still. Which floor? 3 floors below you. He was admitted this morning under a stomach complaint. He is not ill. He is watching the elevator bank. A pause. He does not know we know. I would like to keep it that way for the next 20 minutes while my people reposition. Do not leave the room. Do not use the corridor. I will send someone to you. Line went quiet but did not disconnect. She put the phone in her pocket without hanging up. What is it? The man in the bed said. Nothing. She sat in the chair beside him. Tell me about Boston. He looked at her. We have a problem right now, don't we? Me about Boston. He understood. His jaw tightened once and then he started talking. We met first year. Junho was brilliant and lazy and I was neither and we balanced each other. His mother came to visit once parents' weekend and I watched her look at every woman in his orbit and I watched her categorize them. Like a file being opened and closed. He paused. I introduced her to Lin at dinner. She smiled at Lin the whole meal, refilled her water glass, asked about her family in Hanoi. 3 months later Lin was dead. 3 months later I was identifying her coat at a police station in Yangpyeong. He looked at the ceiling. She always liked that coat. Yellow, she said it made Seoul feel less grey. Adaeze's phone buzzed in her pocket, a text from the older man's number, * someone is coming to the room, green lanyard, let him in, * 30 seconds later a quiet knock. She opened the door 2 inches. A young Korean man in hospital volunteer clothes, green lanyard, slim build, calm professional eyes that were not a volunteer's eyes. He stepped inside, closed the door, stood against the wall and did not speak. She turned back to the bed. When this is over, she said, he is going to tell you where she is. He looked at her. He already told me. I know, I mean he is going to take you there, in person. That is going to happen. She said it the way she had said tonight, Mama, the alley behind the 7-Eleven, not a question, not a comfort, a fact being placed into existence. But right now I need you to think, the mother, who does she trust? Not the lawyers, not the fixers, who does she actually trust? He was quiet for a moment. Her assistant, a woman named Soo-jin. She has been with her for 20 years, she knows everything. He shifted again, the same tight mouth, and the older son. Jihan, he knows what happened to Lin, not officially, but he knows. He afraid of her. Everybody is afraid of her. He more afraid of her than he is ashamed of himself. A long pause. I don't know. That, she said, is the most useful thing you've said. Her phone buzzed, the older man again. Clear. Car is at the lower entrance. South exit, not the main lobby. Rest, she said. Ada. She stopped at the door. He really did love you. I want you to know I believe that. Whatever else he is, whatever he did, he loved you. It just wasn't enough to make him brave. She looked at him for a moment. I know, she said. That's the saddest part. She nodded at the man with the green lanyard and walked out. The black sedan was at the south entrance with the engine running. She got in. The older man was not in the back seat. A different man, 50s, grey at the temples, compact and quiet, drove without speaking. An envelope on the seat beside her, she opened it. Inside, a single printed page. A floor plan, a building in Cheongdam, the mother's house. And a handwritten note at the bottom in the older man's neat small script. She is having dinner tonight with Jihan. 7 p.m. The assistant Sujin will be in the East Wing. The dinner ends at 9. She will be alone from 9:15. Adaeze looked at the floor plan for a long time. Then she took out her own pen and circled the East Wing. She put the page back in the envelope and put the envelope in her coat and watched Seoul go past the window, Apgujeong, then Cheongdam, the streets getting wider and quieter and more expensive, and she thought about Junho's mother refilling Lin's water glass at a Boston dinner and smiling across the table for 3 months before making a phone call. Patient. She was patient. So am I, Adaeze thought. Her phone rang. Her mother. Where are you? A car. Which car? Safe one. A pause. Her mother was eating something. Adaeze could hear the specific sound of her mother eating jollof rice, which she made when she was stressed, which she had been making since they landed in Seoul 3 years ago. Man, her mother said, the older one. Sent someone to move our things this morning. Very polite, very quiet, spoke to me in Yoruba. Adaeze blinked. He spoke to you in Yoruba, passable Yoruba, like someone who learned it from a recording but practiced. A pause. I told him his tones were wrong on 3 words. He wrote it down. Mama, I'm not saying anything, Ada. You are saying something. I am saying a man who learns Yoruba to speak to a woman's mother is a man who understands that the mother is the door. I am making an observation. That's not an observation, that's... Chinwe wants to know if you're eating. Chinwe, I'm eating. You eating? Tell her yes, come home before dark. The line went quiet. She looked back out the window. They were crossing back over the Han now, the water flat and grey in the afternoon light, and she thought about what asterisk home meant when the apartment you were sleeping in had been chosen for you by a man you had met yesterday morning in a tea house, and your actual home was a flat in Hanam that a woman with a severe chignon had apparently been able to walk into at will for 3 years without you knowing. The car stopped in front of the Seongbuk-dong building. The driver handed her a second envelope without turning around. She opened it. Inside, a printed email chain, Korean with English translation on the facing page, between the mother's personal account and a law firm in Gangnam. Dated 6 weeks ago. She read it once. Read it again. The mother had not just arranged the engagement to Eugene. She had arranged the wedding venue, the date, the announcement. The press release that would go out the morning after what was supposed to be Adaeze's wedding day. Everything pre-built, pre-scheduled. The replacement wedding slotted in like a flight booking, while Junho was sitting on the floor of a hotel corridor at midnight crying into a glass of champagne and saying, I can't believe tomorrow is real. She got out of the car. She stood on the pavement with the envelope in her hand and the camellia hedge behind her and the cold afternoon air on her face, and she felt, moving through her, something she did not have a precise word for. She walked inside. He was in the living room when she arrived. Sitting at the low table with 2 cups of tea already poured, the bent pine painting from the tea house now somehow on the wall of this apartment which she chose not to comment on. The dinner tonight, she said, not sitting. Jihan, I want to know everything about him before 7 o'clock. He looked at her steadily. Sit down first. Not. Adaeze, quiet, not a command. Sit down. You have been moving since 5 this morning. Give me 10 minutes and then we will talk about Jihan. She sat. He poured. She drank. You spoke to my mother in Yoruba, she said. I attempted to. She said your tones were wrong on 3 words. Was correct. I have corrected them. When did you learn Yoruba? I began learning it the morning after you called me. He turned his cup on the table. Your mother is the door. I do not walk through doors without knocking. She looked at him. You began learning Yoruba in 1 day. I did not finish. It will take longer. A pause. I have time. Room was quiet. Tell me the rest of the answer, she said. The part you didn't tell me this morning. He was still for a long moment. 11 years ago I put a woman on a plane to Hanoi and I told myself it was enough, that I had done what could be done, that the account was settled. He looked at the table. 2 weeks later I was in a meeting with the mother, a business dinner. She smiled across the table at me the same way she had smiled at Lynn at the Boston dinner, and I understood that for her nothing had happened. Nothing at all. Lynn had been a problem. The problem had been resolved. She had moved on before the girl's plane had landed. I have not moved on. In 11 years I have not found a satisfying answer to a woman who can smile like that. He looked up. Till 4 days ago when her channel called mine and I understood she had done it again, and this time I was going to be in the room for the ending. Adaeze held her cup in both hands. That is still not the whole answer. Corner of his mouth moved, not quite a smile. No, he said, it is not. You are going to make me wait for the rest. I am going to make you wait until this is finished. I do not say personal things in the middle of operational situations. It produces bad decisions. That is a very controlled thing to say. I am a very controlled man. I noticed. Phone buzzed on the table between them. They both looked at it, a photograph, sent from a number she did not recognize. Blurry, taken at distance through a window. Her mother at the kitchen island in the new apartment, a cup of tea, completely unaware. The message below it read in Korean, "Tell your friend to stop interfering." Or the next photograph will not be from outside. Adaeze looked at the photograph for a long time. Then she put the phone face down on the table and looked at the older man whose face had gone very still. She knows I'm here, Adaeze said. Yes, she knows about my mother. Yes, then we are not waiting until tomorrow. She stood up. Call Jihan tonight before the dinner. Tell him. Adaeze, tell him we have the Lin file and we will use it unless. Adaeze, she stopped. He had picked up her phone from the table. He was looking at the photograph, and his face, the composed, controlled, charcoal suit face, had done something she had not seen it do before. What, she said, the window in this photograph. He turned the phone toward her. Look at the angle. She looked, her stomach dropped. That is not from outside the building, she said. No, he said, it is not. He was already on his own phone. Speaking in rapid low Korean she could follow only partially. East wing, now all of them, yes now. And she was already moving toward the hallway where her mother's room was, walking fast and then running, because the angle of that photograph was from inside, from the east corridor, from approximately 4 feet from her mother's door. She hit the door with both palms. Mama. Or opened immediately, which meant her mother had been standing on the other side of it, which meant her mother had heard her running. I know, her mother said. She had her phone in one hand and her other hand was gripping the doorframe. There was a man in the corridor 20 minutes ago. I heard him outside and I locked the door and I did not open it. You didn't call me. I didn't want to alarm you. Handled it, Ada. Her mother's voice was completely level. I called the front desk. I described him. They have him on the lobby camera from when he came in. She held up her phone. I already sent the screenshot to your friend. Adaeze stared at her. Her mother straightened her kaftan. Now, her mother said, are you going to tell me what is actually happening, or are we going to keep doing the version where you say I'm in a safe car and I pretend to believe you? Fine, mother, it's time you know the truth. Adaeze told her everything. She sat on the edge of her mother's bed in the new apartment in Seongbuk-dong, and she told her about Lin and the car on the Yangpyeong Expressway, and a man named Cha and the transferred visa, and the email chain with the pre-built replacement wedding and the photograph taken from inside the building 4 feet from this door. And her mother sat across from her in the chair by the window and listened without interrupting. Which was the most frightening thing her mother could do. When she finished, her mother was quiet for a long time. Outside she could hear the older man's people moving in the corridor. Quiet, professional, the sounds of a building being made secure. Older son, her mother said finally. Jihan knows about Lin. He has said nothing for 11 years. Because he is afraid of his mother. Yes. Her mother nodded slowly, the way she nodded when she was building something in her head. A man who is afraid and ashamed is more dangerous than a man who is just afraid, her mother said, because the ashamed man is looking for a reason to stop being ashamed. You give him that reason before his mother gives him a reason to stay afraid. That is what I was thinking. I know it is, I taught you to think it. Her mother stood up, smoothed her kaftan. Bring the older man in here. Mama, bring him in here, Ada. I want to look at him while we plan. He came in and bowed, and her mother pointed at the chair he was not standing near, and he sat in it, which Adaeze found quietly remarkable. You put my daughter in danger, her mother said. Your daughter was already in danger when she called me. I reduced it. You reduced some of it and introduced new kinds. Yes. You going to keep being honest like this, or is this the part where you tell me everything is under control? Everything is not under control. The woman moved faster than I expected because she has a man inside this building. We have identified him and he is being removed. That closes the immediate problem. The larger problem is that she now knows your daughter is not alone and she will recalibrate. How long does recalibration take her? 24 hours, possibly less. Then you have tonight. Yes, her mother looked at him for a long time. My daughter wants to be the one this woman sees last, her mother said. We're going to make sure she is also the one who is still standing. That is my intention. Intention is not a plan, but I have both. Her mother looked at him for another long moment. Then she turned to Adaeze. Show him what you circled, she said. Adaeze took the envelope from her coat, set the floor plan on the bed between them, the east wing circle in her own pen. The older man looked at it. Assistant, he said. Soo-jin, Adaeze said. 20 years with the family, she knows everything. If Jihan won't move, Soo-jin will. A woman who has spent 20 years watching what this family does to people who get close to the sons, she is either complicit or she is exhausted. I want to know which one. I can find that out before 7. Find it out before 6. I want an hour to decide how to use it. He took out his phone, started typing. Dinner ends at 9, Adaeze said. The mother is alone from 9:15. I want to be in that room at 9:20. Both he and her mother looked at her. Physically, she said. On a call speaker, I want her to hear my voice in her own house. A pause. That is, he started. Possible or not possible? Possible. Soo-jin would need to find out if Soo-jin is exhausted or complicit. If she is exhausted, she will do it. Adaeze looked at him. A woman who has watched this family for 20 years and is tired of what she has seen will not need much convincing. She will just need to know there is a way out that doesn't end with her in a car on the Yangpyeong Expressway. Older man was quiet for a moment, then he said very carefully, You have done this before. You think like someone who has done this before. I think like someone whose mother taught her that the person closest to a powerful woman knows more than the powerful woman thinks. She glanced at her mother, who was looking at the ceiling with an expression of profound innocence. Find me Soo-jin. Found her in 40 minutes. Adaeze was at the kitchen island eating the jollof rice her mother had made. Her mother had found the kitchen and occupied it within 2 hours of arriving, which was how her mother responded to crisis when he came in and set his phone on the island in front of her. A photograph. A Korean woman, late 40s, plain face, tired eyes, good coat, standing outside a coffee shop in Apgujeong. Alone. She goes there every Tuesday and Thursday, he said. Same table, same order. She has been going there for 6 years. The owner says she sits for exactly 1 hour and does not look at her phone. Adaeze looked at the photograph. She is sitting in a coffee shop alone for 1 hour twice a week and not looking at her phone. That is a woman counting down. Does she have family? Sister in Busan, estranged, the mother disapproved of contact. He paused. The sister has a daughter, 8 years old. Soo-jin has never met her. Adaeze was quiet. Outside the kitchen window, Seoul was fully dark now, the city throwing its orange light up against the clouds, and somewhere in Cheongdam a woman with a severe chignon was sitting down to dinner with her older son, and neither of them knew that 6 miles away in a kitchen that smelled like jollof rice, a plan was being finalized around a bowl of food. Call the sister in Busan, Adaeze said. Not tonight, tomorrow morning early. Tell her that someone who knows Soo-jin would like to help her reconnect with her family. Don't say more than that, let her ask the questions. Soo-jin, speak to Soo-jin myself, tonight before 9:15. She looked up at him. Can you get me 10 minutes with her before the dinner ends? She steps outside at 8:45 to take out the recycling. Every Tuesday, it is her only unsupervised moment in that house. Adaeze stared at him. You have been watching that house for 11 years. I have been watching that family for 11 years, yes. He said it without apology, the way you say a thing that is simply true. I told you, I made a promise to myself. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she picked up her spoon and finished the jollof rice and did not say what she was thinking, which was that she was sitting in an apartment. This man had chosen and eating food her mother had cooked and planning the end of a powerful woman's impunity, while the man who had spent 11 years preparing for exactly this sat across the island watching her eat. And it felt, in a way she was not yet ready to examine, completely natural. She said, I want to be at the corner of her street at 8:40. The street in Cheongdam was quiet at that hour, wide pavement, low hedges, the kind of residential street where the houses were set far enough back that you couldn't see what happened inside them. Adaeze stood at the corner in her black wool coat with her hands in her pockets, and the older man stood 10 feet behind her and did not speak. 8:43, a side gate opened. A Korean woman in her late 40s came out with 2 bags of recycling, plain face, tired eyes, good coat over a house uniform. She moved quickly the way people move when they have a narrow window. Adaeze walked toward her. The woman looked up, stopped. Soo-jin, Adaeze said in Korean. I am not here to frighten you. I am here because I think you are tired, and I think you have been tired for a long time, and I think tonight might be the night you stop being tired. Woman stared at her. Know about Lynn, Adaeze said. I know what you saw, I know what you did not report. I know why you did not report it, because you understood what reporting it would cost you, and you were not wrong about that. She paused. I am also the woman she tried to have killed last week. And the week before that, and the week before that, except those were different women in different years, and they did not all survive. Sujin's hands tightened on the recycling bags. I am not asking you to testify, Adaeze said. I am not asking you to go to the police tonight. I am asking you for one thing. At 9:15, when she is alone, I want you to put your phone on the kitchen table and press call on the number I am going to give you, and then I want you to walk out of that room and not come back. She will know. By the time she knows, you will already be on a train to Busan. Your sister is expecting you. She watched Sujin's face change. Her daughter is 8 years old. Her name is Jiyeon. She has been asking about her aunt since she was 5. Recycling bags went down on the pavement. Sujin stood very still. You have 20 years of knowledge about that family, Adaeze said quietly. You have not used it because you had nowhere safe to go. You have somewhere safe to go now, but I need 9 o'clock first. A long silence. The street was empty in both directions. She is having wine with the dinner, Sujin said finally. She always has wine on Tuesdays. By 9:15 she will have had 2 glasses. She is not impaired, but she is softer, more likely to say things she would not otherwise say. She will try to trace the call. She will not be able to. Another silence. Sujin looked past Adaeze toward the older man standing 10 feet back. Recognition moved across her face, not surprise, something older than surprise. You, she said. He inclined his head. You were at the dinner, Sujin said. In Boston, 11 years ago. You sat across from the girl in the yellow coat. I always wondered. She stopped. Something broke open quietly in her face and then closed again. I always wondered if anyone was going to come back. Came back, Adaeze said. Sujin bent and picked up the recycling bags. She walked to the bin, deposited them, turned around. 9:15, she said. The number. Adaeze held out a card, plain white. A single number. Sujin took it, tucked it into her coat pocket, walked back to the side gate without looking back. The gate closed. Adaeze stood on the empty pavement and breathed. Behind her, the older man came to stand beside her, not speaking. Just present the way he was always present, steady and close, and taking up exactly the amount of space the moment required. She recognized you, Adaeze said. I was there when it happened. She was there when it happened. People who survive the same event recognize each other. It bother you that she knew. It means she has been carrying it too. A pause. People who have been carrying something for 11 years put it down hard when they finally put it down. She will do what she said. They walked back to the car. -9:14, their apartment, the low table, 2 phones between them. Her mother was in the kitchen. Adaeze had asked her to stay there, and her mother had agreed in the way she agreed to things she planned to partially ignore. She was in the kitchen, but the kitchen door was open. 9:15, the phone on the table lit up, connected for 3 seconds, nothing. Then the ambient sound of a room, a glass being set down, a chair shifting, the specific quiet of an expensive house at night. Then the mother's voice, low to herself in Korean. What is this? Adaeze leaned forward. Good evening, she said in Korean. My name is Adaeze Okonkwo. You tried to have me killed. Silence. I was going to marry your son, Adaeze continued. I was going to be good to him. I was going to give your family something it does not currently have, which is a person in it who is not afraid of you. That is apparently the thing you cannot allow. Gave you this, the mother started. Lynn sends her regards. Silence this time was a different kind of silence. Lynn is dead, the mother said, very quiet, very controlled. Lynn is in Da Nang. She has 2 children. She has a restaurant that does very good business on weekends. She has been alive for 11 years while you believed otherwise, which means you have been making decisions based on a result that was never achieved. A pause. I want you to think about that. All the decisions you made in 11 years because you believed a problem was solved. It was not solved, it was redirected. A sound on the line. The older man listening beside her recognized it before she did. The sound of a woman sitting down. What do you want? The mother said. I want you to understand something before tomorrow morning when your lawyer calls you with news you are not going to like. I want you to understand it tonight while you still have 2 glasses of wine in you and no one is watching, so that you understand it clearly and not through the version your lawyers will construct for you. Adaeze's voice stayed level, conversational. You spent 11 years believing you won. You did not win. You delayed. Delaying and winning are different things, and the difference is sitting in front of a phone in Seoul right now telling you so. You are a child, the mother said. You are a child who does not understand. Jihan is going to speak to the prosecutor tomorrow morning, not because we forced him, because we gave him a reason to stop being ashamed, and that reason was stronger than his fear of you. You built your sons on fear, and one of them has just discovered that shame is heavier. A pause. Sujin is on a train to Busan. She has 20 years of knowledge about this family, and she is going to spend the train ride deciding how much of it to write down. I will. You will not, because every channel you have used for the last 11 years runs through a man who has been waiting 11 years for you to use them again. You have no clean lines left. Every number you call tonight will be a number he answers. She leaned back. I am not calling to threaten you. Threats are for people who still have options. I am calling to tell you that tomorrow is going to happen the way it is going to happen, and I wanted you to spend tonight knowing it because you made Lynn spend 11 years not knowing she was alive, and I believe in balance. A very long silence. When the mother spoke again, her voice had changed, not broken, something beneath breaking, the sound of a structure recognizing its own weight. You are not what I expected, she said. No, Adaeze said. I never am. She reached out and ended the call. The apartment was very quiet. From the kitchen, her mother said without coming in, Balance, that was mine. I told you that when you were 9. I know, Mama. You're welcome. Jihan called at 7:42 the following morning, not the older man's line. Adaze's line. She did not know how he had her number, and she decided not to ask. He spoke for 4 minutes. She listened. She asked 2 questions. He answered both. She hung up and looked at the older man across the breakfast table. He'll go in at 10, she said. I know, his lawyer just called mine. You knew before I did. By approximately 90 seconds, yes. She picked up her coffee. Outside the window, the camellia hedge was catching the early light, the red flowers very bright against the dark leaves. Cha, she said, paid and redirected. He has a job in Osaka next month. He will not resurface in this. The man in the building. Detained last night. By police, by mine. He will be released in Incheon this afternoon with enough money to make a different professional choice. You gave him money. Has a daughter in Daegu. He does not enjoy this work. Sometimes people need a reason to stop more than they need a punishment. He looked at her steadily. I told you weeks ago that you would be making decisions about men like him. You made the right one without knowing you were making it. She thought about the man with the newspaper in the coffee shop. The untouched coffee, the newspaper that did not turn a page. He will go back to it, she said. Eventually, possibly, but not today, and today is what we had to work with. She nodded. Dohyun. He looked at her. It was the first time she had used his name without it being a question. Rest of the answer, she said. You said you would tell me when this was finished. He was quiet for a moment. He turned his cup on the table, the same quarter turn she had watched him make in the tea house, the tell of a controlled man reaching for something to do with his hands. I have a daughter, he said. In Vancouver, she does not speak to me. She knows what I have spent my life doing, and she has made a reasonable decision about what that means for who I am. He looked at the table. She is 29. She is a doctor. She is by every measure that matters a good person. She did not get that from me. Then from who? Her mother, who also does not speak to me. A pause. I have spent a long time in rooms making decisions about other people's lives. I am good at it. I am not proud of all of it. When you called me from a hotel bathroom at midnight and said I am the woman from Itaewon in a voice that had not cried once, I thought, here is someone I would not have to apologize to afterward. Here is someone who will see exactly what I am doing and decide for herself whether it is worth something. He looked up. That is the rest of the answer. It is not a romantic answer. It is an honest answer. Only have honest ones left. The other kind cost too much. She looked at him across the breakfast table in the morning light with the red camellias outside the window and the city waking up around them and everything that had happened in the last 4 days sitting between them like a completed piece of work. You are going to keep learning Yoruba, she said. Yes. Your tones are still wrong on 3 words. Your mother has agreed to correct them. When did you speak to my mother? This morning, early. She came to find me before you were awake. A pause. She told me that the door was open, but that doors have thresholds, and she would like me to be aware of the threshold. What did you say? I said I was aware of it, and I intended to stand on the correct side of it for as long as she required. She said good, and went back to make breakfast and asked me how I take my tea. Adaeze looked at the cup in front of him, plain black tea. Her mother's ceramic mug. Her mother had given him the good mug. She looked back at him, and he looked back at her, and neither of them said anything for a moment. And the morning light came through the window and caught the steam rising from both their cups, and outside a car passed on the quiet street, and somewhere in Busan, a woman named Sujin was meeting a niece she had never held, and somewhere in Cheongdam, a mother was waiting for a lawyer's call that would not bring the news she was waiting for. and somewhere in Da Nang a woman in a yellow coat was opening a restaurant for the morning and did not yet know that the man who had loved her in Boston was on his way. Adaeze set her cup down. Doyan. When this is fully done, the prosecutor, the lawyers, all of it settled. She looked at him. Take me to the tea house, same table, same cups. What purpose? So I can hear the rest of the things you are not saying yet in a room that is not a crisis. Corner of his mouth moved. It moved further than it had moved before. 9 a.m., he said. Be there at 8:58. She stood up from the table and picked up her coat from the chair and her phone from beside the mug, and she walked to the window and looked out at the camellia hedge and the quiet street and the city beyond it, and she thought about a hotel corridor at midnight and a man crying on the floor with a glass of champagne, and she thought about a bench by the river and a folded piece of paper, and she thought about standing at an altar in a cathedral with a bouquet in her hands while a man talked to a priest. She thought, all of that happened 4 days ago. Look what 4 days can hold. She did not say either of those things out loud.